This is California Edition. I'm Brad Pomerantz. We are in Sacramento, California, and who says there isn't bipartisanship in the state's capital? Because there is, and we're going to show it to you today. We have two members of the California State Assembly joining us. We have Das Williams, a Democrat from Santa Barbara. We have Scott Wilk, a Republican from the Santa Clarita Valley. Gentlemen, I must say, you asked me to come on together. I didn't ask you, so thank you for that, and why?
Well, we serve together on the Higher Education Committee. And it's a very rare committee where Republicans and Democrats are working together constantly to get good policy for our higher education institutions.
Would you agree, Mr. Wilk?
Well, actually, I'm on the show because Doss said I couldn't get any bills out unless I appeared on the show.
Other than that
That's
blackmail.
how Sacramento works.
Other than that blackmail.
No, actually, I agree with my chair that This is a committee. We go from pretty far right to far left. But we are focused on student success and achievement, and I think we work very well together.
I've said this before. I was recently in Washington, D.C., and I had the chance to interview several members of the Congress and the Senate, and my perception was that they don't really like each other. Democrats and Republicans, they don't look at each other in the hallways, they don't talk to each other. In Sacramento, it does seem that there is some camaraderie, and compromise can be had. As an example, the rainy day fund. I mean, Democrats and Republicans got together to hammer out a rainy day fund. How did that happen?
Indictment of 3 Democratic senators.
Okay. Well, but
because that brought the governor and the majority party to the table. Having said that, we could say no.
I would say we were close to. We were at the table beforehand. It just helped you guys a little bit more.
Right.
Yeah, maybe a little bit more leverage. So now we're gonna actually have a real rainy day fund, and I'm proud to be co-author of that.
But I do wonder, I mean, your point is well taken. The Democrats lost their supermajority in the Senate. But even before that, I did get a sense that Democrats and Republicans in Sacramento did work together, did try to create some level of bipartisanship. Am I Pollyanna?
Well, from my perspective, I'm the only Republican that represents any portion of the city of LA.
Ah, yes.
So when I go to regional events, it's me and like 15 Democrats. I call it the Southwest Caucus when we're flying up from Burbank, and it's about 5 Democratic state senators and maybe 8 assembly members and myself.
And you, right.
So in many respects, I know Democratic legislators better than I know people in my own
Interesting.
party.
So let's talk about higher ed. I think it's fair to say, Mr. Williams, that higher ed has done pretty well as it relates to restoration of funding since the end of the recession, but not as well as K-12.
No, not at all. And I would actually argue that while the move towards restoration has been going very well in the community colleges, which, by the way, were damaged more than any other institution by the recession, the recovery in the UC and CSU has been very anemic. And that presents a problem. If we start making our community colleges successful at moving students through, where will they go if we don't have room for them in the UC and CSU?
And I think about your districts, Santa Barbara, UCSB in your district. I think CSUN is in your district?
Right outside of my district, but I've got 2 private colleges and a community college.
Right.
And we both represent Ventura County,
right,
which is about the most bellwether county in the state, and where people want solutions.
And Cal State Channel Islands is there, correct?
That's right.
But point being, the days of students getting into the CSU and UCs kind of willy-nilly without much effort, those are gone. I mean,
they're completely gone.
Absolutely. In fact, we both advocated and signed a letter asking the governor to put an additional $95 million into the CSU system, really to help the continuum of education. We're doing a $700 million in community colleges investment, but where are those students going to go? They're going to go to CSU.
If they can get in. Let's talk about that.
That's why we're doing the $95 million.
Let's talk more when we come back. For our viewers on HLN, thanks for joining us. For our other viewers, we'll be right back. So, gentlemen, I want to continue our conversation, talk about UC and CSU. As I mentioned, it seems to be getting harder and harder to get into these institutions. Is there a move to increase the size of the institutions in a smart and productive way?
I think the bottom line is we need to pay to make sure that there's room for our students and that there is making college affordable doesn't help if there's no room for those students to go at all. And at CSU, it's a bargain. It would take $95 million to get 20,000 more students a year enrolled. And it takes about $125 million to get more at the UC.
At the same time, though, as you know, to attend CSU, just tuition fee $6,000-7,000 a year, UC $12,000 a year. That's a decent chunk of change, and it wasn't that way 10, 12, 20 years ago. It was $1,000 a year. So should we be looking at increasing the size as opposed to maybe bringing the tuition down, sir?
You know, for me, we've shrunk our commitment from the state to these institutions. For me, what we need to be doing is having a serious discussion on how we can grow our economy. So we'll be flush with cash, so we can actually go and fund these priorities. Because I think the biggest challenge to those institutions are they're underfunded, and they're underfunded because we don't have the dollars. So what can we do to make that happen?
What's your
And
sense?
I would say that it is more important to fund more space because what is driving loan debt with students is not fees. It's how long they're taking. And if you don't have room, that means students take longer. They take 5 or 6 years instead of 4, which dramatically increases their cost of education.
Yeah, going longer, which I agree with. I was on a community college board of trustees before I got elected, and anytime I had a young person Facebook me, I knew what they were going to talk to me about. And the other thing is because these proprietary colleges that students go to now,
The for-profits?
the for-profits, because they know when they're going to get out, but they're very expensive. And so we've got to do a better job of capacity so we can push students out quicker.
What about our community colleges? 20, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, those were places where people went to get a second chance. It's not that way anymore. People are going there for a variety of reasons. They want the smaller classes, it's more affordable, but they also want to transfer. Transferring has been a challenge, and NAU and U of A and ASU have been taking a lot of our kids.
This is one of the things I'm really proud of. We've achieved a bipartisan consensus on the Higher Education Committee to really light a fire under our educational institutions about transfer, ease of transfer, is that we have the most inefficient transfer system where each school has to have a transfer agreement with each school.
Right.
We need to make sure that the UC and CSU academic senates set the right high standard, but to allow more schools to transfer their students and have more classes that are fully transferable into the UC and CSU.
And are we there? Has the bill made it?
No, we're not there yet.
No, it's definitely not my fault. But the thing that's frustrating about this, if you go back and you read the original education master plan,
Right.
they talked about the difficulties of transferring back then from the community college on to CSU, and we still face these same institutional hurdles. We had a special hearing
Down in Fullerton.
down at Fullerton about this last fall.
And things are a lot better at the CSU. They've done a lot more degrees, essentially, that would automatically transfer to the CSU. I would say only 2 campuses in the CSU system aren't doing well at this point in making that system easier. The real problem remains at the UC, but the new president, Napolitano, has got on this very quickly, and one of her first moves in office, I think partially in response to some pretty blistering criticism that we leveled at the UC at that hearing, was to work with the other segments to try to improve transfer at the UC.
In our final moments, a big frustration surrounding the number of out-of-state students being admitted. Some say it's too high, some say it's too low compared to Michigan or Virginia. We're low compared to other places we're high. What's your sense?
I would say that it would be better to have more room for in-state students. That needs money. That needs an increase of $125 million over what the governor has proposed.
Gentlemen, I want to thank you for joining us. It's special that you decided to contact us to engage in this bipartisan discussion. His name is Scott Wilk. His name is Doss Williams. My name is Brad Pomerantz, and this is California Edition.